It's John Bode from Rock History Music. First of all, happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there. We have a real treat for you. There's something that happens when you're at a party, I noticed many, many years ago. If you're uncomfortable and you want to make conversation with someone, you don't know them, one of the easiest things to say is, hey, how did you meet your husband? Girlfriend, husband, wife, boyfriend? Everyone lights up. Even if they're miserable in their relationship currently, it brings them back to a nice place. I noticed in radio, I carried that on to radio, where I'd be nervous in the early 80s when I first got into radio. I would ask artists about, and yeah, this is 41 years ago, about their parents. And almost all of them kind of lit up. And since it's Mother's Day, I didn't go back 41 years with these interviews, but I went back to 25 artists that I asked about their parents, but most notably on this one, their mothers. Happy Mother's Day. Here's what these guys thought of their moms on Rock History Music.
A lot of rock stars grew up with, maybe they didn't have a great childhood and they didn't get support from their parents who didn't understand. My parents couldn't have been more supportive, the best.
My mother was the first woman in the United States to weld on Sherman tanks at Fisher Body in Flint, Michigan. I was raised in a family that was pro-military.
Yeah, my mom came to Earl's Court where we played, but the highlight of the trip was seeing Rod Laver in the hotel lobby. And my mum had a stroke, not too serious, but and I don't know whether it actually happened during the concert or not, but she was never the same after that trip.
And she was a quiet Englishwoman who wanted respectability more than anything else. And
they were terrified that I was just going to wind up achieving nothing. They both got to live long enough to see well past leftover point of return and all that to become very proud of me.
We built our family built our own house, and so we learned recycling. We would, on a hot summer day, we'd be out in the yard with a big stack of used lumber, and we'd be taking the nails out and then straightening the nails.
Well, my mom got me started playing when I was about 12, and so as I got more and more into it, my mom and dad, they would just be in the family room, close the door, turn the TV up, and I'd just play. They just really were cool about letting me just do my thing. My mom was more, she was very proud, but she was more kind of subtle about it.
So the only way we could practice, my mom was a pianist, and she had a beautiful Heinzman piano in her living room. And she said, well, you can practice in the living room. You got to be careful. I can't, when I look back on that, I'm like, my parents let my band practice in the living room. Are you kidding me?
My brother and I were both extremely fortunate to have parents that bit the bullet, so to speak. They just never, they're from a completely different generation. We were playing music that was completely foreign to their ears. But we were just so fortunate to have such supportive parents. They set up a rehearsal thing in the basement. We had an unfinished basement, but we had an area that they set aside for us to rehearse. And halfway through a band practice, we'd see Mom coming down the stairs with a plate of milk and cookies for us.
You don't get to pick your parents. It's something that happens to you in life. So not everybody gets a great. They get somebody's going to get the short straw, at a certain point.
My mother always wanted me to do a real job, so so I did that before I went to university and stuff. But I think there was an article about Blinded by the Light in the local newspaper, and I think after that she was convinced that I was doing a real job.
My mother was more concerned with me having a secure employment. Well, she was very concerned because she said, well, you've got this government job for life. They don't fire anybody. It's wages. And I said, well, look, this is something that I just not only have to do, but I know this is my path.
My mom, bless her heart,
She was never quite sure what the hell I was doing. But when we played the Forum in Los Angeles with the Doobies, and I invited her to come, she got a chance to meet Cher, and now she could tell the girls at the country club that, you know, her son was successful, I guess.
My mother got it. My mother gave me permission. When I started guitar at Phillips Academy at Andover, it was an elective. I came home with my little Stella, rental Stella, and I played a song called Teardrops. But anyway, she cried. In those tears was her permission to not go to Harvard, to not become an accountant or an engineer.
So my mom was engaged to be married. She was married to a guy who was in the Second World War in the Far East. And he came back a broken man. He was, you know, and it turns out he couldn't go through with it. And my mom's lot, they were pretty poor and everything, but they booked a room somewhere to have a reception, and they booked the thing. So they said, well, we've got the sandwiches, you know, we've got a couple of crates of beer. We might as well go and have them. And my mom worked with this guy who was my dad's brother, and he said, oh, can I bring our kid along? You know, he plays a little bit of drums and Fred plays the piano. And that's how they met. And then they got they got married. Not on that day, but you know.
My mother was she encouraged me to play piano. So I was playing classical piano and reading music at that time, which I completely dropped and forgot once I got in the studio working with professional musicians. I was like, oh my God, I don't play piano. So, but yeah, she was very influential in that.
My parents, it was actually a struggle because they thought that's just a doomed kind of a profession to go after.
Yes. My mom, after the show, she came up to me. She had tears running down her face. She said, son, you're doing so good. I am so proud of you and what you guys are doing for the veterans. Oh my God, your dad would just go through the roof with joy. And that made me cry, buddy.
My mum passed away now. At 92, she was still coming to my concerts.
They were pleased that I was good at it, but I don't think they really thought of it as a career.
My mother wanted, she made me play accordion. She was Italian. It was the law. But my mother was a taskmaster. Nothing or nobody was ever good enough. But there's always that one parent. I don't know who it is in your family. And if you want me to listen to you talk about it, it's $200 an hour and lay on the couch. But I'm telling you right now, one of them made you feel like, you know, we weren't going to be good enough. That's why human beings do everything. We have architecture, we have motion pictures, we have good food, because someone was trying to please somebody who wouldn't be pleased. We all are searching for love and the approval we don't think we're getting.
I got out of New York after my mom got me. Didn't have to do her show anymore, and so she had a little free time to do her mom routine, which she wanted to do, you know. But I mean, there were demands upon her, being this person who was able to get paid, you know. In those days, it was, if you had a good job, you know, held on to it. My mother knew that because she was very poor when she was growing up, and finally when she got in the movies and started getting more parts and getting paid, she held on to her like a, you know, just with not just like nothing was gonna get in that way, not a marriage, not her kids, nothing, you know, and she just held on.
I've always thought that I was a pretty liberal parent, but when I think back to my parents letting me go play 7 nights a week in the combat zone till 2 o'clock every morning, and then getting up every morning and going to school, I couldn't imagine letting my kids do that. So, you know, they gave me a lot of leeway. And I think when the band finally took off and we had some success for them, it was like, you know, I guess we were right after all. You know,
my mother loved it. She loved music. She used to be singing all the time while doing the dishes. And she eventually became, she said, Mary's my name, rock and roll is my game. She had pads made up. Really proud. You know, I mean, I got pictures of my mother with Rod Stewart, and My mother made lasagna for Jeff Beck and Rick Derringer and Rod Stewart and John Lennon.
What she saw was some musical talent. And the only way that, I mean, she would kind of manifest that would be through classical music, you know. So I took lessons for like 8 years of my life, you know, which, you know, and I've just, you know, I've written this book, and I wanted people to know. I mean, basically, it was her kind of tutelage and insistence that got me my musical education, because I wanted to go out and play with my friends, you know, and you're going to go to class. You're going to go. I did 3 lessons a week for 8 years.
I really hope you enjoyed that, and share it if you could. It's Mother's Day. Why not share the wealth a little bit? There are certain clips and interviews that I've never really gotten a chance to use much. And I just hustled this morning going, I bet you I can come up with at least 25 artists who are talking about their moms. If you want to support the channel, there's a PayPal link at the very top of the description. There's lots of links up there. You can join our Patreon, get early access to hundreds of clips that have not even been on YouTube yet. Join our swag store. You can buy a t-shirt, a hat, a jacket, a whole bunch of different things with our logo on it. Remember, subscribe to our channel, click the bell notification. Don't miss anything. Also, like our videos, comment on them, and share them on social media. Again, happy Mother's Day. I'm John Bowden from Rock History Music.